Hi, I'm Maria. I just finished Master of Science in Sustainability Management, and I come from Chile.
My name is Dastan. I'm from Kyrgyzstan, and I've just finished my master's degree in electrical engineering.
My name is Nabil. I'm originally from Malaysia. I graduated with a Master's of Public Health.
I'm Elizabeth. I graduated with my bachelor's degree in business administration, and I am from Uganda.
I love studying in the US because you learn not only by studying but also working.
So OPT stands for Optional Practical Training. It's a temporary employment that is related to the field of your major.
Students who are eligible for OPT can apply for up to 12 months.
My OPT gives me a chance to explore different parts of myself that I have not before. I currently work as an accounts payable specialist, and there's so many skills I've acquired from the job that I'm doing. I'm very grateful for it.
OPT in the United States is an eye-opening experience for me. I work in a research lab investigating Alzheimer's among aging African American. I learn the in and outs of the research field, how academia works, and new technology, new discovery every single day.
I work in a company where we provide advice for green buildings. So I applied for the STEM 24 months extension because I wanted to go in deeper in that practical experience, and that I wanted to apply everything that I have learned here back to Latin America.
CPT stands for Curriculum Practical Training. It's a program that allows you to work during your school. For me, I wanted to be a part of something significant and global. So during my CPT internship, I explore energy market and emerging technologies. And I'm sure that my CPT will help me to be a part of this transition to sustainable future.
OPT is a chance to take what you studied from your degree and put it into the real world. And I love that there's a chance for us to experience that in the United States.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our today's session. I'm very happy that we are here today, and thank you so much for your patience. So my name is Alina Yakubov, and I'm Education USA Advisors, and we are here today for another interesting webinar. And today we're gonna talk specifically about STEM scholarships, and we have two very nice invitees. We have Erica Liz from Northwest Missouri State University, and we have Stacey from Stony Brook University. So I would let them to introduce themselves and tell us more about their role. And afterwards, we're going to focus on the presentation that these two magnificent ladies prepared for us. So yeah, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Stacey Acquaro. I am the Associate Director of International Undergraduate Admissions at Stony Brook University.
Hi, everyone. My name is Erica Lees. I'm the Assistant Director at Northwest Missouri State University in Maryville, Missouri.
Awesome. So guys, stay tuned. Prepare your questions, because today we're going to talk about the STEM scholarships, and we are going to go on with the presentation. So as I know, Stacey will be the first one who will start.
Go ahead to the first slide, Alina.
Sure.
Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. There'll be plenty of time for questions. We wanted to focus a little bit today on not just some of the STEM scholarships, but really a little bit about what is STEM, why STEM, some of the unique factors coming to the US and studying STEM, along with some of the scholarship opportunities that you can get. And of course, many of you know this already because there's an interest, but just always a friendly reminder of what is STEM. It stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. There's also a term called STEAM out there that adds in some of the arts and creativity. So sometimes they are, believe it or not, used interchangeably. But it's really, STEM is a grouping of 4 specific fields of study that really aim to teach 21st century skills and tools. And it tries to differentiate itself a little bit from what's traditionally known as liberal arts, what may have been a more traditional education system years ago, focusing on some more skill-based careers and skill-based subjects than than pure knowledge-based. So just a little overview and reminder of STEM, or even just an explanation. Some people hear the word STEM or hear the acronym STEM and know that they want to be in maybe something science and engineering because that's what leads to a good career path. But understanding why you're interested in studying something or what field you're kind of getting into is valuable for you to be able to market yourself and understand what your career path is. So next slide, please. What are some of the benefits of a STEM major? And as I was just sort of explaining, there's a lot of students, especially on the undergraduate side, who hear the word STEM. They've been given a lot of information on you should study STEM, it leads to a good job, but not necessarily the exploration behind it to really give you a sense of what it is and what are some of the benefits. But some of the benefits do include, tends to be many of the majors lead to high demand fields and career fields, which do lead to more career opportunities. They can be very intertwined. Just because you're a math major, a lot of people think, oh, you either have to be a math teacher or a math professor, but there are lots of things that lead to having a major in math and what kind of career fields there are. Some other benefits of STEM is job satisfaction and contributing to society. So many STEM majors are 21st century skills where you are creating, building, innovating, and really contributing to the next phase of society. So whether that's in something in the tech field, whether that's a computer program or a computer language, or even building some kind of website, you are continuing that progress and continuing on with the contribution to society. We're going to talk more about this later, but of course, a benefit for international students is the OPT STEM extension, which does allow for OPT for 3 years versus 1 year. We'll explain exactly what that means a little later in the presentation, but students do tend to like that option. What I always say, and again, we'll talk more about this, is picking a major based on the fact that I get an OPT 3-year visa versus 1 year is not necessarily the reason to pick a major. Picking a major is about your career and about what you enjoy doing and what you're good at doing for the entire rest of your life, not just because you can stay in the US for 3 years. But we can talk again more about that later. Typically, average starting salary in many of the STEM fields is higher than in some other fields, so that tends to be a benefit. Of course, those are factors when looking into studying in a STEM field. I do always reiterate kind of what I just said before. While these are benefits of a STEM major, choosing a major is very personal. It's something that you as an individual needs to understand, that you have to like the subject. You have to like studying the subject over and over and over again. You have to be able to picture yourself translating this materials into a workforce situation and doing it often and repetitively daily. And you also kind of have to be good at it. So I give the example of people who want to be a doctor often, but maybe don't like biology. Well, biology is a major part of obviously being a doctor and learning about the anatomy. And if either you don't like it or you're not very good at it, it will not necessarily lead to job satisfaction later on. So you really want to consider some of those factors when choosing a major. Next slide. So one of the things, as we talk a lot about some of the benefits of STEM, and we hear often from high school students, is that I know I want to be in a STEM major because of some of those benefits, because my parents want me to be, because I know I'm going to make a lot of money. But there are things that you as an individual need to do to prepare in high school in order to pursue a STEM major at most universities. Coming into a STEM major, there will be rigorous curriculums at universities, and you need to have certain course preparation. For one, math is really important. Regardless of if you're going to be engineering, if you're going to be biology, physics, chemistry, you need to have a math background, and you will need to continue math when you are at university. Most schools will have preferable in high school some kind of higher level math, whether it's like a calculus class, A level, higher level IB, all depending on your curriculum. It's not to say my school doesn't offer this and I need to go find this, but you should be taking the highest level math that your high school offers in terms of your curriculum, and you should be taking it every year if available. Again, we know some students are tracked in different ways. That's different than outside of the US, but you should be focusing on math and whatever that highest level of math is. You should also be taking lab science courses, physics, chemistry, biology. If available in your school or in your local community, participating in some extracurricular activities that do have some STEM-related focus, whether it's a competition, a club, some kind of Olympiads, robotics club, whatever kind of focus that may be, even research on your own or other kinds of opportunities. You also want to take a more rigorous curriculum, again, if offered in your school. And so we're not telling you to change schools. We're not telling you to move, which, believe it or not, I've heard some students having conversations about. That's not what we're saying at all. But whatever your school offers, if your school only offers the one national curriculum, then of course that is what your application is judged upon. But if available at your school, you should be taking the highest kinds of level curriculum to make you the most competitive for STEM majors and to prepare you for the rigor of what a STEM major will be at university in the US. One of the big things that we often tell students is that if you are undecided between a STEM program and a more of a humanities liberal arts program, it is really easier to switch out of a STEM program than into a STEM program. At many universities, you will have to completely reapply for admission into a STEM program. There's space limitations. There may be specific courses at the university that you have to take or there may be no options at all at the university to change your major into a particular STEM major. So it also sometimes can prolong your time. So a lot of the STEM majors at a previous institution I used to work at, architecture was one of the big ones. And students, it was very, very sequential. And if you didn't start off right away, it was a 5-year program as it is, you were already behind. And so every semester built upon each other. So we always encourage students to start off there. And if they didn't like it or or for whatever reason wanted to change their mind, it's easier to change out of. And that really goes the same for a lot of the engineering programs as well. It should be known that sometimes those STEM classes will have larger classes even at smaller schools. I'm going to talk more about Stony Brook, which is a large institution, but I can tell you my daughter is a first-year student at a very small school, which has class sizes in the 20s, yet her calculus class is over 40, so it's really double the average there. There's longer classes and have lab components, which she does have sort of a lab recitation, so an additional hour to that calculus class, where 2 classes are combined for that class. So it tends to have that. So even at smaller schools, if some of those things are of concern to you, those are the types of questions that you want to ask. At a larger school like Stony Brook, those classes could be in the several hundred size. And a STEM major, think about how much technology changes, think about how much medicine changes, think about how so many of the other sciences changes. Your chemical formulas are being rewritten every day. You're making new prescriptions every day, new vaccinations every day. It is constantly changing. So you need to be prepared to be a lifelong learner. I was a history major, and of course, history gets written every day. But if I'm teaching early American history, there's not much that changes except how people view it. But if I am designing a website or designing a program to help me with my bills, with my accounting, those things evolve and get better all the time, day by day. So you continually need to learn how to improve on that technology and on those STEM functions on a daily basis. So you really need to be prepared in a STEM major to continually learn, not necessarily at university, but continually learn through a number of avenues in order to be a STEM major. Next slide, please. And so I quickly want to just mention that while some of the benefits we talked about and some of the reasons to study STEM and how to prepare for STEM, we talked a little bit about the OPT extension for 2 additional years on top of the 1 OPT. And if you don't know, OPT is occupational practical training. It's kind of, I always say, it's basically work experience after you've graduated from university that is paid, but you don't have to change in the US to a work visa. You get to stay on your student visa, and it makes the transition and the immigration paperwork easier for you. There are, of course, some forms to fill out, but the transition is much easier. Your company doesn't have to do a sponsorship, which is probably a little too much information for this presentation right now, but it does become a little easier. But just because your major is a STEM major, because you have a Bachelor of Science or it sounds sciencey, doesn't always mean it's a STEM designated program. And STEM designated programs are really between a designation that in the US, the Department of Homeland Security designates with the way the university has officially filed what that academic program is, and they put what's known as a CIP code to it. So there are official lists on the US government website that kind of gives all of the general majors and fields of study that are STEM designated for this option, but you will need to check with each university to make sure that is a STEM designated program. I also like to say that list can be fluid. it can change at any given time that the US government decides, which is also why I said, don't choose a major because it's a STEM designated program and I'm going to hope that I get a job in the US after, where I can have this 3-year OPT versus 1 year. Reasons not to are, of course, you may not like that major, you may not be good at that major, you may not want to work in that career field forever. You may love it and get a job back in your home country or in a completely other country. You may choose to do other things. So a great example is, I'm a math major, but and that can be very fluid, right? You can do a lot of things with that. But now I decide, I think I don't want to study particularly exactly in math, and maybe I got a job in business and in finance. Well, yeah, your math skills will probably translate very well to that, but that's not really what your major is. So now, just because you majored in that doesn't always mean that your OPT will be approved for 3 years if the job you got isn't exactly in the field of study. So there's a lot of reasons that picking that major just because it's STEM designated doesn't always match. So I always really counsel students to pick a major that they are passionate in and think about those things. Next slide, please. So as we move through the program, we're going to pause a little bit in the middle, and I'm going to transition to tell you a little bit about Stony Brook and then pass it off to Erica to continue on, and then we'll open it up for questions afterwards. But just a brief introduction of Stony Brook University. We are a large research comprehensive university, extremely STEM focused. As a public research university, we are the #1 public university in New York State and ranked in the top 1% of universities in the world. Larger school with over 26,000 students, over 3,500 international students. Some of our popular majors, including some of our popular STEM majors, are biology, chemistry, physics, biochemistry, geology, astrology, most of the engineering majors, as well as computer science, data science, information systems. We also have a tremendous marine and atmospheric science school with climate science, sustainability studies, marine sciences, and we do have plenty of the humanities majors as well for students not interested in STEM. Undergraduate students apply online. Our early action deadline is November 1st, which is priority consideration for computer science and the School of Engineering majors. And then a January 15th regular admission deadline. We're going to talk about scholarships in a little bit, but we do offer a number of scholarships. Our biggest scholarships are merit-based scholarships for all students, regardless of major, $1,000 to $6,000 a year. Those deadlines are pretty tight, so we definitely recommend the applications in a timely manner, and the folks at EdUSA can certainly help you through that process. But I'm going to transition over to Erica to continue on.
All right, next slide, please. So to tell you a little bit about Northwest Missouri State University before we get into the next parts of the presentation, we are a 4-year public university located in Maryville, Missouri. Our enrollment numbers just over 10,000 students, so we're a little bit smaller, but for our area, we are a good-sized university. We just started classes this week for the fall, so our international student enrollment numbers are looking around 700 for this year. We offer over 100 different undergraduate programs and 6 graduate programs. Some of our most popular majors include computer science, biology, web design. We also offer cybersecurity. We have a brand new cybersecurity lab, and we received some recent awards for our cybersecurity research. Laptops and textbooks are included in your tuition at Northwest. So we are very focused on easy access to everything here on campus. And then we have over 150 different student organizations that you can get involved in, and on-campus student employment opportunities. So that's just a little bit about the university. Next slide, please. So when you're getting into STEM or really any of the degree programs, what you want to look at is a potential career path. Most universities in the US have a career services office. It's an on-campus office dedicated to helping students prepare for jobs after graduation. So they will review your resume, your cover letter, help you do like a mock interview session to see what feedback you can get, so you're prepared for that job search. We also, those offices would host career fairs for employers to come to campus, and they're looking for employers are looking for employees at those institutions because they know that they're good students and they're prepared well for working after graduation. There's also the option to do internships. So curricular practical training, CPT, those rules differ a little bit between schools. So you will need to talk to a DSO at the school that you go to in order to make sure that you're doing everything by the rules of that school. But CPT is a work authorization that allows you to participate in an internship related to your field of study after you've done 1 year of study in the United States. So here at Northwest, we have a lot of students who do internships specifically in the summer because they can go anywhere in the United States to do their internship. We've had students do internships with Google, with Pinterest, with LinkedIn, and those internships show the students what they like and maybe what they don't like about the field of study that they're in, so that later on when they're looking for a job, they know more of what they want to do. And some of our students have been able to get full-time jobs because they have that internship experience already. It does set you apart when employers are looking at your resume. Another great resource is What Can I Do with This Major? It's a website. You can go to that website, put in what your field of study is, and it'll tell you the different careers that you can do with that major. So you can kind of figure out what you're looking for. Also, a lot of schools do collect postgraduate data. So about 6 months after graduation, schools usually send out a survey, or for international students have to report back to their school with what employer they've found. So schools generally do have that information for where students are working, where they've been able to find jobs, what the salaries look like, all of those things. So that if you are looking for a job in the US after graduation, you have somewhere to start. Next slide, please. So talking specifically about STEM scholarships, a lot of companies are a good place to look. They may have scholarships for students studying in STEM fields if they have a STEM focus in their company. So you can look for that. There's also scholarship searches like internationalstudent.com that you can filter the scholarship listings based on what you're interested in studying, where you're originally from, and then what country you're planning to study in. So there's a lot of options there. And specifically the scholarships that we offer at Northwest, for our graduate programs, we have one for computer science and information systems students that is given automatically on admission. It's a one-time $500 scholarship that all students in those two programs receive. And it helps with that tuition, but we also do have a flat tuition rate for all of our graduate programs. So it's the same no matter if you're studying from Missouri, from another state in the US, or from another country. So that also helps as well. And then the other scholarship that we offer is more broad, but does apply to our STEM majors as well. It's the Northwest International Achievement Scholarship, and that is for bachelor's degree programs. It's a renewable scholarship valued at $7,832. So that's actually the difference between what an in-state student would pay and what a out-of-state or international student would pay. So instead of paying those higher rates, you would pay an in-state tuition rate because you got that scholarship. And that scholarship is given out to all students that have at least a 2.75 GPA from high school. So that is something to keep in mind. When you are studying in high school, you want to get good grades because that can give you more scholarship money in colleges and universities later on, because they do look at those grades. So that is another scholarship option. And then we also do have academic merit scholarships from $1,000 to $6,000, depending on how high your scores are in high school. And then you can get additional money by taking the SAT or ACT test as well. So those are some more scholarship options there. Next slide, please. And here is our contact information. Mine is, my email is there, and we also have a office WhatsApp number. So if you have questions about the programs, about STEM scholarships, you can send us a message and I'll respond to that yet today. So Alina, I guess we can go on to any questions that anyone might have.
Sure. I think we missed the contact information for Stacey, but we can submit that in the comment section. No worries. Okay, perfect. Thank you, ladies, very much for the presentation. So I think we can go now in more details because we've received some questions before this webinar, and we also received some of them during this webinar. So we can focus now on the questions that we received first for the student that pre-registered for this event. So one of the first questions that we have received was regarding scholarships, full or partial, and what specific requirements to get a full scholarship for a STEM scholarship. If you can just give us more details on that, maybe first it's going to be Erica that will respond and then Stacey.
Well, so in the US, not all universities will be able to offer full scholarships. And those requirements will depend on what university you're going to. Like I know here at Northwest, we don't have a full scholarship for academics, but we do have partial. So typically we talk about with our International Achievement Scholarship and an Academic Merit Scholarship, the highest amount you can get in scholarships per year is about $13,000. So that brings total cost down to just under $20,000 a year for everything included, including your tuition and fees, housing, meals, and your health insurance. So everything included for that cost. So when you're looking at scholarships, you do want to look at how much you can build multiple scholarships together. And a lot of schools will also honor private scholarships. So if you're given a scholarship, maybe from an organization at home, they will apply that to your university bill and things like that as well. So just looking at some of those things where you may not be able to get a full scholarship, but you can add multiple scholarships together to help toward that goal.
Oh, sorry, Stacey. I think you were on mute.
Thank you. I will just echo what Erica said. It's really important when doing your searches for school. Obviously, we talked a lot about your major interest and a STEM focus, but cost is definitely one of those items to look at when you're considering a school. And most schools in the U.S. will not be offering a full scholarship for undergraduate studies. Graduate may be a little different with some work experience and things like that, but undergraduate studies, it's even schools that offer full scholarships, they may only offer 1 or 2 a year. So those are questions to really have before you apply to that university. I can't tell you how many times I get an email from an applicant who literally submitted their application the day or two before, and then is emailing me, talk to me about how I can get a full scholarship. I can only come if I get a full scholarship. And then I have to say that we don't offer that, and they withdraw their application before it was even reviewed. So at Stony Brook, we do have, our largest is about a half tuition scholarship, and you can, as Erica said, couple that with other scholarships, whether they're from Stony Brook or from outside. So it's really important to look at some outside scholarships, and I'm sure there's definitely, whether it's from Education USA or each of our own universities or other universities, there's plenty of stuff on YouTube that kind of talks about financing your education and how to search for scholarships. And it's really something that you'll have to couple with what the scholarship offering at the universities are.
Okay, perfect. Then the next question is scholarship for master's degree. I'm not sure if we can talk here only specifically about STEM, but maybe you have some other scholarships that would cover the postgraduate degree. So,
Yeah, so I'll just really mention Stony Brook has over 100 master's and PhD level programs. Most of our PhD programs are fully funded. We have a separate graduate school that does all of graduate admissions, and really it's department based. So the review of applications and the scholarship offerings or graduate assistantships and teaching assistantships or research assistants that come with oftentimes admissions to master's and PhD level programs are all done at the actual individual academic department level. So while you're applying and to the graduate admissions office, each academic department is going to have their own criteria for admission, their own deadlines for admission, and their own scholarships that they offer, or funding really that they offer. So it's not always just scholarships, it's a variety of funding that you have to work as a graduate assistant or a teaching assistant, and you're basically getting doing work for that's equal to tuition.
Yeah, I would say it's similar here, except that ours is a little bit more centralized. So like I said earlier, we have that flat tuition rate for master's degrees. We have the computer science and information systems one-time $500 scholarship. And then we do have the graduate assistant program here at Northwest, where students, you do get paid for the hours you're working, but then you also get a stipend as well. So that really does cover a lot of the cost of attending for a master's degree. And a lot of our students do take advantage of those programs.
Okay, perfect. The next question would be, are there similar types of funding for school students? If it's possible for a school student to get such funding, and if it's possible, how? I'm also interested in any summer programs for your school. So I think you've already responded to a part of this question, but maybe if you can develop on summer programs, if you have such.
So for Northwest, right now we don't have any summer programs because we're doing some construction work during the summer for the next couple of years. But any summer programs that are offered by schools in the U.S. Typically do have some sort of funding. It may not be full, but there usually is some sort of funding for those summer programs available.
So at Stony Brook, we do have a number of programs that are for high school students. They're not necessarily specific to international students, but there are a number of programs that could be STEM focused, that can be subject-based focused. We typically do not offer funding for any of those summer programs. They are what the cost is, including living on campus and meals and things like that.
Okay, and what it's going to be like an average cost for a summer program?
It really can vary because it depends on the length of the program. I would say about a 2-week program, which is probably average, is probably about $5,000.
Okay, great. So the students would have a perception of how much would that be. Okay, great. The next question, what is the importance of GPA, SAT scores compared to motivation and essay?
So specifically at Northwest, we don't require a statement of purpose or an essay for your application. So for us, the importance of GPA is very high. And SAT or ACT scores is going to be the next thing that is important, mainly for scholarship purposes. So your GPA is going to matter for admission and scholarships, and then your SAT and your ACT is also going to matter more for the scholarship purposes. So like I said earlier, keeping your grades up in high school because it does help for your admission and higher scholarship opportunities is very important.
Yeah, one of the things that both Erica and I have said a little bit throughout this presentation that's really important to know is that every school is going to have slightly different requirements and a slightly different take on how they look at things. So where at one school, a component of the application might not be as heavily looked at or weighed in part of the application process, it's going to be totally different than another school, and equally different in the scholarship review application or the scholarship process and how a scholarship may be reviewed or awarded. So it's really important to understand that if you're applying to each of our schools, there may be a slight difference. And so our scholarships at Stony Brook are also purely merit-based, based on your GPA, but the application process will look at all components, including the essay and letters of reference. We are test optional, so SAT and ACT is not required for any of our programs except one of our competitive honors programs, and it's not used in the scholarship process. Not having that and having a large class makes things like the essay and activities and letter of reference really important in the review process when we are space limited in certain programs, like a computer science, like a computer engineering or biology. We have to go beyond the academics because everyone who's academically qualified cannot be admitted to the university. We just don't have that kind of space. This past year, we received over 55,000 applications. Obviously, the majority of them are very STEM focused, so we have to look at some of those other items. But for scholarship purposes only, it is academic based, and the higher your GPA, you tend to be on the higher end of the scholarship.
Okay, great. Then the other question that we've got during this webinar is from Orush. Hi, can I apply for STEM when I am studying business? I think that's a great question.
Yeah, there are a lot of schools that are moving to a STEM Master's of Business Administration degree. I know that's something that's being talked about here at Northwest is kind of moving toward that. So that is something that's happening at a lot of schools in the U.S. Currently, right now, the list for STEM designation, if you're studying business, it doesn't fall under that unless your school has made changes to that SIP code that's on that list, because typically business is not STEM designated. So it is going to depend on the school, but a lot of schools are moving to that, to where that's going to be an option.
Right. And that goes back to my previous slide, whereas not every, just because it either sounds STEM or because it's at one school, it's considered a STEM designated program. It's really about what, the university has also done in terms of what the curriculum entails and how it is officially registered with the U.S. Department of Education. So it has to have certain criteria in the actual curriculum, not just because it's a Bachelor of Science or a Master's of Science in something. But there are many schools that do have the MBA. Stony Brook does not, but we do have a couple of other business programs that are STEM designated in the master's level. Again, you'd probably want to speak to our graduate program, but I think that there's like some kind of data analytics and a finance option that has a STEM designation for the master's.
Okay, thank you. What if already finished high school? Is there any other way to prepare for a STEM major? Who wants to go first for that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
What if already finished high school? Is there any other way to prepare for a STEM major?
So I think that probably both of our universities, as well as many other universities, of course, accept students who have already completed high school if they haven't attended university yet, and maybe they don't feel they have some of the math and or science courses. I would say you can definitely apply to schools in the US. It will vary on what schools have certain requirements and how strict they are, and depending on what you want to study. So I'll give an example of Stony Brook. Our computer science major, probably our most competitive major. You have to have calculus, you have to have physics. If you didn't have that in high school, we may offer you admission to the university, but not in a STEM related area. Yet, if you wanted something like biology but didn't have calculus, we may be more acceptable of that. If you feel that you don't have sort of any of that preparation, believe it or not, I know people are sometimes hesitant outside of the US, but the community college system in the US is really a wonderful opportunity. First off, we talked a lot about finances and scholarships. It's less expensive. Many do cater to international students and have housing for international students. So there's lots and lots of options where students can then gain some experience and transfer. So it really is just going to be a little bit of research to what you want, what you had in high school, and what are some of the different avenues to get there.
Great. Erica, you would like to add something here?
Yeah, so I would say Stacey covered it pretty well. If you don't meet the requirements for admission into those programs for a university, community college is a great option to be able to get those classes that you do need to be able to move on to the next level at the bachelor's level.
Okay, great. The next question. My school doesn't teach AP or IB classes. It's just a regular national curriculum. How can I make up for this?
So as mentioned earlier in the presentation, your curriculum is what is what it is. So we do not necessarily need, there's no makeup of that curriculum. There's no enhancements. Schools want you to take the most competitive level at your school. So if your school is offering a national curriculum, that's the most competitive level at your school, and that's what you're supposed to be taking.
Okay, good. Erica, you want to add something here?
Yeah, I would say the same thing with a regular curriculum. There's nothing that says that you aren't getting what you need. In my experience, my school didn't offer any of those things either. And going to college, I was prepared just as well as the other students. It was just what was offered. So it's fine if your school doesn't teach AP or IB, as long as you have the requirements for admission, you will be fine.
Yeah, and you guys also submit this transcripts. You also submit the courses and disciplines actually that you have taken during your national curriculum. So I think that's also helpful for the admission commission when they would review your profile for the admission process. So it doesn't mean that every international students would have an AP or IB classes. I mean, that's a normal process, a regular process, I think. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I also agree with these two ladies that you don't have actually to worry about this. The next question, does Northwest Missouri State University give undergraduate for business, and is it possible to get 100% scholarship? Erica, that goes to you.
Yeah. We do have undergraduate business degrees. We actually have an entire school of business, so there's multiple undergraduate degrees to choose from. We don't have a 100% scholarship. Like I said earlier, the total amount of scholarships that you could get at the highest level would be about $13,000 a year. But there are a lot of other options for private scholarships and other university scholarships as well that you could add on top of those two.
Okay. The next question, it's not really related to our topic, but is if your universities have exchange programs?
Yes, we absolutely do have exchange programs. We have a number of study abroad and exchange programs with a variety of different universities across the globe in probably over 25 cities. And many of our international students partake in them. We also do have, I know we talked about summer programs before, which was a little bit more geared towards high school students, but we do have a global summer institute. So for students who are at university in another country and want to just come for the summer for 1 or 2 classes, have the opportunity to kind of do an exchange at Stony Brook for the summer as well.
Yeah, and at Northwest, we have exchange programs with a lot of different universities, study abroad programs in over 50 different countries. So there are a lot of options for students to choose from. Students can go study abroad as international students as well. So our offices are actually together. So international students and the exchange students that are here at the university get together and do things together a lot here.
Perfect. Then the next question, would you guys say that for your respective schools, the scholarship amount is negotiable if the applicant shows strong academic abilities?
Ours is not, no.
No, it wouldn't be.
Okay, so it's not negotiable. So in case if a student shows a really high GPA and a great score, like for example for SAT and a brilliant profile, would he get a minimum scholarship or a maximum scholarship? Do you have such things?
So at Stony Brook, we have a range of scholarships. It is merit-based, based only on GPA. So because we are test optional, meaning that we don't require SAT or ACT, we don't even consider it in the scholarship process. So a lot of students think, well, if I just get a higher score on my SAT, maybe I'll get more money. That's not the case at Stony Brook, but maybe at other institutions that require it. We don't have specific GPAs for specific scholarships. It can vary each year from year to year once we do a review of the incoming class, where we're seeing where our applicants are. So typically those with the highest of GPAs, close to perfect scores, will receive closer to the max scholarship. But it can have, other factors that go into it.
Perfect.
Yeah. And at Northwest, for our academic merit scholarships, there's actually a chart that looks at your GPA, looks at your SAT or ACT score. There's also a part that if you don't have an SAT or ACT, you still get scholarship money for that as well. So wherever you fall on that chart is going to be where the amount of scholarship money that we can give you.
Okay, perfect. Then the last question that we have is, I have 90 score from DET. Can I get full scholarship? Again, about full scholarship.
Yeah, so I think it's really important to understand, as we both mentioned before, that full scholarships are very rare in the US, especially at the undergraduate level, even a lot of times at the master's level. PhD is slightly different. And the university itself at the undergraduate level, even if they're offering full scholarships, may only be one or two for that university. So a lot of times you're going to have to do research on your own of other scholarships outside of the university that may get you to that full funding. And at Stony Brook, our minimum Duolingo score for admission is a 105. And we don't consider any test scores, including English proficiency, in the scholarship review process. So English proficiency is a minimum requirement that you need to study at our university. And that's not at all, and then that's not looked at. So if you had a 105 versus a 125 versus an 80 TOEFL or 100 TOEFL, that is not going to determine anything, that regardless of scholarship. I don't know many schools that do use English proficiency in their scholarshiping. But again, as we kind of also said before, these are things, every school has different requirements, and you need to do your research on what all of those requirements are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we would be,
okay, sorry.
Yeah. We would be very similar with that. We don't look at English proficiency scores for scholarships. We only look at it for admission to the university. And our admission score is higher than a 90 as well.
Perfect. I also can suggest you guys the Common App. You can make a profile on College Board, and you can also see the minimum requirements every university would have. So I think that's also helpful, because you would also get an understanding about what every university would need in terms of English proficiency score, what would be the minimum average one, what is going to be the maximum, the minimum, and what is also going to be the scholarship that would they offer, like the medium one. So yeah, you can inform yourself from there. And the last one, because we have one more. Hi, thanks for the presentation. I'm inquiring if you do have diagnostic medical sonography program and nursing at any of both the universities.
So we have sonographic sciences here at the university. We don't have nursing, but we do have sonographic sciences.
Yeah, so Stony Brook has a large number of health-related programs, some at the undergraduate level, some at what we call the professional level. So we have a university hospital right on campus, along with a medical school and a dental school, which are at the graduate level program. And then a number of health-related programs, including nursing. We don't have a medical sonographer program, but we have similar, like radiation technology. We do also have things like respiratory care therapy, medical dosimetry, things like physical therapy, occupational therapy, physician's assistant. So that's pretty specific, which is great. But some of the great benefits of coming to a place like Stony Brook would be, use of the hospital, where you kind of get to see a lot of different medical and health related fields.
Okay, perfect. So I think we are done with all the questions. Thank you very much for taking your time, ladies, to answering them. I really appreciate that. And thank you to our audience for being today with us. I think it was a great presentation. Oh, thank you, Erica, for submitting your contact information. We'll do that shortly for Stacey also, so you will guys be able to email or to write a message to both institutions. In case if you guys have questions after rewatching this video, you can also submit your questions. We will answer them afterwards. You can also use our website. We do have an email address there where we can redirect you to a specific institution or to your Education USA Center, because you should be able to reach your Education USA advisor in the country that you are coming from. So that's also very helpful with your preparation process. Thank you once again for watching us today. We really hope that all the information was useful, and we really hope that you would be able afterwards to reach this lovely ladies afterwards. And thank you both for participating, Erica and Stacey. We really appreciate your time. We know that you are very busy now welcoming students on campus. So we wish you good luck, a lot of patience, and a lot of hardworking students and dedicated students. We hope to organize more webinars in the future. So if you guys have also some ideas of some topics that interest you or about some specific majors, programs, let us know. We will definitely consider this. And for today, we're wrapping up. Thank you once again for watching us. Stay tuned for our webinar on Friday, and stay tuned for our webinar for September. Thank you once again.